today we are really excited to have Keletso from Botswana, who's also happens to be the Botswana YellowCard Country Manager. We are really excited to have someone from the Southern African, from this, amazing Southern African country. How are you?
I'm all good. Thank you, David. Thank you for the introduction. Like you said, my name is Keletso. My full name is Keletso Thophego. That's my full name. And I am the YellowCard Botswana Country Manager. Yes, I hail from Botswana. It's a country in the Southern African region. It's within the SADC bloc. We are right in the middle of SADC, like we are in between Zim, Zambia, Namibia, and South Africa. And yeah, we use the Botswana Pula, the currency. And what's funny is at every official gathering, you always hear them say Pula. And when they say Ayene, Pula is more like rain. So yeah, we do use the Pula, and it has, a significant hold, on our cultural. Botswana is funnily enough, it's a small country, not by operations, but by population, because we are just over 2.3 million. Just over 2.3 million, and you can imagine how other countries are faring in terms of population. We are basically a town in some other countries. Botswana being small by population doesn't necessarily mean that we are small in everything. Our industry and our country's general economy, it's quite one of the biggest in Africa. We are one of the major diamond exporters. We are one of the major beef exporters, actually. So those two are one of the, our major exports to the world out there. And also tourism in general, the Okavango Delta. I believe you heard of it, or you've had people talking about it, or in global ratings. It was at some point, I believe, rated as the #1 destination for tourism globally, which was very, 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 very interesting, very good to see the country topping up such global charts. With regards to the general business climate in Botswana, it's friendly. It's friendly for foreign direct investment. If companies are willing to come to Botswana to provide their services, we don't have any barriers here. Our constitution and the regulation placed around doing business in Botswana, it's more or less put in place to protect the citizens whilst also fostering business. Because look, we can't keep foreign direct investment out, because we need it. We need it to diversify the economy, improve standards of living. The taxes that those companies will be paying to Botswana are the same taxes that will be reinvested into making the country much better for its citizens. And so with that said, Botswana, it's one of those friendly guys you'll meet in Africa for all types of companies, such as even YellowCard. It is really friendly, because we came here, YellowCard came here offering a service that was very foreign throughout the continent, not only in Botswana, which is cryptocurrency, but Botswana did welcome us with open arms. And I could confidently say we have been operating pre the regulation release, which was in February this year, 2022. And so that just shows you that Botswana it's welcome. It welcomes innovation. It welcomes that foreign direct investment. And with regards to the political climate, we don't really have any unrest. Botswana is, it's normally termed as that peaceful country, and it's really visible on the ground. We really have riots, civil wars, and those likes. Even during elections, nothing really goes south that bad. Like, you may have a few squabbles here and there, but it's not on the level of civil wars and riots and everything. So Botswana is generally a stable country, if I may say. It is generally a stable country.
All right, awesome, Keletso. Thank you for that awesome overview. I'm actually surprised to hear you guys have such a small population. So but it has its advantages, like you said, and also it doesn't in any way mean that everything is small about Botswana. Obviously, I think the big news for the crypto community was that YellowCard got a license from Botswana. I think that was a huge win for crypto in Africa. It's the first. I mean, maybe do you mind giving us a brief on how that happened? Just while touching on crypto regulation in Botswana, maybe also tell us a bit on the previous, announcement by the Bank of Botswana. They were a bit, reserved when it comes to crypto, but then all of a sudden we see YellowCard gets a license and it's regulated. Maybe give us a bit of a background on how that, happened.
So before all this regulation came, people were just conducting crypto activities, on their own with no oversight from any regulatory body, because there was no regulatory framework to, monitor, supervise the guys providing that service. And now this started as a niche activity, but then it started growing. Like, people became more and more interested. I think if you remember well, back in those days of 2015, 16, 17, where Bitcoin was like having these volatile spikes, like it could be so much up one time and then tomorrow it's down. So people got an idea that, okay, if Bitcoin went this high and it's down now, there's a chance that it might go up again. So, there's some capital gains to be made there. So now a lot of people started creating these schemes and started pooling funds from people, which then made it a bigger activity now. Because if you start pulling funds from people, that means that you are gonna have quite a lot more to deal in compared to if you had a few individuals. So now this became apparent to the Bank of Botswana that a lot of people are now participating in this, even though there is no regulatory oversight. That is, the citizens are not protected. And some of the schemes, one of the most biggest schemes was called a Bit Club Fund. It left with a lot of people's money. And so the Bank of Botswana then warned citizens that, there is no regulatory framework here in Botswana. So they couldn't do much at the time, because you can only regulate once there is a regulatory framework that's been passed into law. So they had to put that general warning that people participating in crypto will have no recourse should they lose their funds, whilst participating in that. That is, people won't be able to go to the Bank of Botswana to report and say, maybe this company took my money and they disappeared with it, or those likes of reporting that are generally common with regulated entities. So the Bank of Botswana had to do that, because if they did not, then a lot of people were going to look to them, because they were gonna think this is more or less like currencies in a way. So currencies should be falling within your jurisdiction, but at the time there was no regulatory framework. So the Bank of Botswana had to put out that disclosure. So then after that warning, then the whole global FATF changes started rolling in. We've seen a lot of countries going to that grey list, some going out, and I believe Botswana went in and then out of that list pretty quickly. And so the government took it up on its hands to change the whole regulatory infrastructure and update and keep up to modern times. And that's when now we started seeing a draft of the virtual assets regulation. It was passed in February 2022. And after it was passed, a lot of the operating people who are dealing in that space were given a grace period of 3 months to apply for licensing. And if they didn't apply for license after 3 months, then they would have to stop the operations, because they would be operating without, number one, having approached the appointed regulatory authority for licensing. And number two, also just that they're basically ignoring what the law says at the time, because the press release was made publicly available. So yes, that's how, all of this came about. Basically, the crypto world in Botswana is becoming that wild, wild west, where people are just doing whatever, and there was a lot of funds flowing in there. So, all these changes were necessary.
Thanks for that background. Now, we know that the VASP license by YellowCard was issued by, the non-bank financial institutions regulatory authority. Am I correct?
Yes.
Now, but again, the Bank of Botswana issued a warning. Just can you help us understand the difference between these two regulators and why, NBFIRA was the one that, gave the mandate?
The time, first you have to, distinguish the timing. The Bank of Botswana warning came last year when there was no regulation, and NBFIRA was appointed this year when the regulatory framework was finally passed into law. So now the two regulators, that is Bank of Botswana and NBFIRA, the non-bank financial institution regulatory authority, the setup is more or less like the UK type of setup. In the UK, you have the Financial Conduct Authority, and then you have the Prudential Regulatory Authority. So it's like a twin peak type of regulation. So it's a similar setup in Botswana, where you have the Bank of Botswana regulating the banking sector, and then you have the non-banking, like the name says, it's non-banking financial institution regulatory authority. So the Bank of Botswana is banking, NBFIRA is for the insurers, the micro lenders, and then newly now the virtual asset service providers. So that's kind of the difference, and the timing of Bank of Botswana's warning was last year, and now NBFIRA was appointed this year. So that's how they kind of differ in this case. And we have the Financial Intelligence Authority for mostly money laundering issues.
I mean, based on the regulator that is now mandated with that, does that give us a picture of how Botswana views crypto? Like, is there a regulation, or has it come out? How does Botswana view crypto?
Okay, Botswana views, look, crypto is now classified as its own. It has its own special sector, which is virtual assets. Yeah, like I said, so it's not treated as currencies or financial products like in other jurisdictions. But I believe that because the regulation is new, going forward, we will see some changes as more and more data is collected on the ground, and both regulators get to further appreciate more what crypto really is and how better they could regulate to protect both the businesses and also the citizens. So I don't think this is like the final regulatory framework we have. I believe that as time goes on, it's going to be further developed. I believe even globally, you see the SEC on mostly a quarterly basis, keeping on bringing these new changes, because they get more data from the ground, and they get to watch and see how crypto works, so that they could better regulate it.
Just taking you back to the regulation, was it difficult dealing with NBFIRA? Like, are they friendly people, or they give you a hard time?
So regulators mostly give you a fair share of both, because ideally you wouldn't want a regulator that's that's friendly and doesn't stamp its authority as the regulator. So we got a fair share of both. The underlying idea here was to create a relationship with the regulator, because this is the first of its kind, and we are the first and only licensed virtual asset service provider. So in essence, we need the regulator to regulate and provide us with those guidelines as to how we could improve our efforts in better protecting ourselves and the citizens, whilst providing these virtual assets services. And also they also need us so that they could get insights into the market and as to what's happening, the trends in the market, what's happening, the types of scams we see in the market, because that's a pretty great area of interest for them, because the scams are what they are trying to curb and protect citizens from. So ideally, we both need each other. So that's why you got a fair share of both sides from the regulator.
Indeed, I totally agree. So now with the license now that you guys have, what can you do and not do?
Okay, I'll just give you like a high level view. With regards to YellowCard, I'm going to speak for YellowCard. Yeah, so with regards to YellowCard, we have been upholding ourselves to like the strictest standards, that is the US regulations, prior to Botswana implementing its own virtual assets regulation. So we have been conducting business using the highest standards in the world. So what we have been doing won't be much different from what happens after we get the license. But all I can say is the license provides some sort of a guidance and more regularized way of doing business. For example, if you want to put out a new product, we have to pass it by the regulator, so that the regulator could assess and see if it's fit for the market, and also if it won't have any diverse impacts on clients. If I could put some context, if we are saying we are an exchange, right, we can't be seen posing investment packages to clients. That's against the regulation. That's not what we told the regulator that we are going to do. But if we weren't licensed, YellowCard wouldn't do that, but maybe someone else out there, they would probably have those exchange services and also pitch investment products to clients. But this license, it makes it a bit formal and regularized as to the activities that we do. So we have to always have the regulator see what we do and give us that pass that, okay, you can put it into the market. We are satisfied that all the controls are there in place to protect the citizens and also you guys as a business.
All right, indeed. Now, crypto being still relatively new to a lot of people and even to many regulators, not just in Botswana but on the continent, do you feel that the regulator will also be learning from you guys, in terms of crypto, uptake, usage, and do you feel that, depending on what data you share with them, do you feel that might also influence their future regulation when it comes to crypto, and maybe also much bigger on the continent, because obviously Botswana is taking the lead here?
Look, it's going to be exactly how you described it. The regulator is going to learn from us, and we are also going to learn from them. So we will be, it's like I said, it's a relationship. So whatever data or requests that come from them, and if we can better assist them in bettering the regulations and improving them, we will do so, because we are licensed and we also want what's best for our customers and ourselves in terms of protection and just that backing from a regulatory perspective. We are always keen to help, and that's YellowCard's modus operandi across all the markets. We don't just come and establish operations in the markets. We engage regulators. We want to see how better we can do things. We want to be that transparent partner that you have, that one person that that this one won't do any dubious activities and run away with people's money. So that's really how we operate on a global basis. And with regards to regulators in other countries, if you noticed, a lot of the countries are starting to do sandboxes. With sandboxes, it's not like a license, but they are showing that they're taking that initial step to try and learn what crypto is about, and how can they better develop their own regulatory infrastructure, so that in future it then develops now into a fully fledged virtual assets license. And I believe Botswana taking the lead here is going to provide some sort of reference point for regulators across the continent. Because remember, Botswana is, one of those countries that if something happens, people listen and people really, take note of what's going on in Botswana. So yes, I believe that this is gonna serve the African continent well.
Indeed. I think I remember we put out a tweet when you guys got a license, and I saw someone tagging the Capital Markets Authority of Kenya and all this stuff. Telling them,
yeah.
Look at what's happening in Botswana. We hope that can indeed inform other, regulators on the continent. But zeroing back to Botswana, Keletso, you are serving the Botswana audience and the market. What would you tell the Botswana users now that YellowCard is licensed? What now can they sort of access from YellowCard, and how can they go about that?
Okay. Our users, they already know that we are an exchange. We are not an investment platform. We don't trade for anyone. We don't give profits. We are just an exchange. We give them crypto. They give us local fiat, and unlike other exchanges, we do take local fiat in all our markets. If you're in Kenya, we do take the local Kenyan currency. If you're in SA, we do take the rands, and Botswana, you take the pulas. So us being licensed actually gives that stamp of legitimacy that YellowCard is here and it's here to stay. And like I had mentioned before, there were schemes that came and went. But now that we are licensed and we are also registered locally with the registrar of companies, then it means that YellowCard is here. It's here to stay, and our services can only, improve from here. We'll see, in future how better we could serve our citizens. But I'm pretty sure you will hear something in future. Some big changes coming to YellowCard, and that value proposition coming to citizens on top of what we are already providing. So yes, that gives that stamp of legitimacy. And from what I could tell you, also just an observation, a lot of people have been masquerading as YellowCard, scamming people. But now that we have the license, it's going to be an easy feature of distinguishing the legit YellowCard from all these scammers. And once that's cleared, citizens could now consume without any worries or fear of getting scammed.
All right. In fact, speaking of scams, what's the official Botswana community that guys can join in, that you guys are running?
Okay, right now we don't necessarily have a community. We are still building our systems, our infrastructure, because we want to do it right. We don't want to be found in WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups, because that's where most of the scams are popular. So we want to build something that's going to be there, something that you can recognize from afar, that okay, this is the YellowCard community. But for now, we only have our social media pages. And on Facebook, it's YellowCard app. Even on Twitter and Instagram, it's YellowCard app. We don't have any localized page, maybe such as a YellowCard Kenya. No, we don't have that. It's always YellowCard app. That's like the global page that serves all the countries. So if you see something like YellowCard Botswana on social media, that's not YellowCard. And if you see something like YellowCard Kenya as a group there, that's not YellowCard.
Yeah. All right. Actually, thanks for that clarification. I think a lot of people expect maybe a localized page or something. So thanks for clarifying that. So maybe Keletso, as we wind up, any word of advice to people getting into crypto, to regulators as well? What advice would you give in light of now YellowCard and what you guys have been able to to achieve?
Okay, for people looking to get into crypto, first of all, research is important. You have to do your due diligence. You have to also have a plan. Like, if you are to deal in crypto, why do you want to deal in crypto? Do you want to trade crypto, that is spot trading? Do you want to do that? Or do you want to buy and hold long term? Or do you really want to use it as a payment method? Like, some vendors accept Bitcoin as a means of payment. Some people use USDT as a hedge, because USDT is pegged to the dollar, and getting the dollar from banks, it's quite expensive because of that commission, especially for the retail customer base. So YellowCard is there to provide that service. That is, if you buy USDT, there's no commissions that you're going to be charged. They're just going to be billed at the prevailing rate by then. And also now, we missed a point talking about the unbanked. YellowCard is trying to bank the unbanked. And I just gave you a simple example of hedging. You might have that one person on the street who is trying to save in Pula, but the Pula has been depreciating against the dollar. So if that person could get access to USDT and start saving in USDT, they could protect their savings long term. Because look, the African currencies compared to the dollar, it's sad. It's always a mismatch, and long term, ideally you'd want to save in a foreign currency such as the dollar. So if we give access to people who don't have bank accounts, that that value add that they could save in foreign currency and preserve their purchasing power, then this is something that should be spread to everyone, literally everyone. So that's what YellowCard's mission really is. That's why we are trying to bank the unbanked, so that people could make payments, save, protect their funds, send and receive, across the global village by leveraging the blockchain technology. That's powering crypto. And to regulators, ideally, this technology is here to try to resolve some of the issues that banks couldn't resolve due to their nature. So ideally, you'd want a lot of people being financially literate, by all means. So crypto is here to join the cause and fight to achieve that particular goal. So it's better to work with crypto service providers, sandbox them, put them through all the trials and everything, so that you are satisfied that these guys are not scammers. And once you do that, then it can only get better from there. So don't fight the technology, just embrace it. Do by all means to protect the citizens and also the business, so that the whole economy could benefit from having crypto in there.
Awesome. What a nice way to conclude our discussion, Keletso. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you, David.